baseball, not always the best team wins, right? You got to still go out there and get it done.
Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast Baseball Talk, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Baseball just around the corner, starts in March. It's going to be fun. Our first tournament with Game 7 Baseball will be out at Arch Madness at the WAC. Our first tournament of the weekend. We'll do our Saturday at the ballpark, having some fun out there. Also, you want 14U, we sent out the invitations. We'd love to see you out at our 14U Super 7 Invitational with Game 7 Baseball out at the WAC's 3 days. We had 28 teams last year. Had a great time. Looking forward to it again this year. So make sure you're going to game7baseball.com. Register your team. We'll see you guys at the ballpark. And folks, if you like what we're doing here with Youth Baseball Midwest, please, if you hit the subscribe button down there, that helps the algorithm. If you like it, you share it. It also helps the algorithm and helps keep pushing things out. It also shows we'd love to see our subscribers watching. We appreciate you being here and supporting what we do here on Youth Baseball Midwest. You can follow us on our socials on X at YBM_cast. We got IG, Facebook, and yes, we are TikTokers. Whatever that means now, we are TikTokers at Youth Baseball Midwest. You can follow us on all of those, IG, Facebook, and TikTok at Youth Baseball Midwest. Please do. We appreciate it. Folks, today we got some fun stuff here for you on the show. Today from the Prime Sports Call Link. As always, the guru himself, Mr. Kevin Moulder. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Doing good. And from the center of the state, all the way from Ashland, over there at Southern Boone High School, head coach Brian Ash. Coach, appreciate you being here, buddy.
You bet, man. Thanks for having me.
Always. Love it. Folks, we also, guys, one of the things we're doing, we just started our YBM club. We've got some great exclusive content up. You can go check out our player spotlights. We have the Three Amigos with Brady Tanner, Nolan Sissom, and Brendan Pyle. It was a great conversation, player spotlight with them. Also from Eureka High School, Craig Ringy. That was a great conversation. We were over at LPA, Legacy Performance Academy, talking to that young man. Really enjoyed these conversations. We need your support. You want to join up, become a member. We got our Legacy membership right now going on, 50% off. You can check all this out. We're getting ready to drop our first coaches preview with Coach P, and he brought some of his players along with him. So we got some great stuff. We're going to be dropping our Fort Zumwalt West with Matt Sissom and Coach Beckman over at Francis South Central next week. So please come on, join the YBM club with some great stuff going on here. It helps support what we do and helps us continue what we do. Guys, we got some interesting information. I wanted to do this first. We've been doing some trivia, but I've been looking through the record books, and a young man from your neck of the woods, Kevin, over at your alma mater last year, tied some records. I think they were ties, but he had quite a game against Parkway Central. Jake Noland in 2025 tied the high school record of 4 home runs in one game against Parkway Central. Not to mention total bases, 18 in one game, and he also tied the record of extra base hits in one game with 5. He tied 3 high school records for Misha in one game. It was pretty impressive.
Impressive. Yeah, I remember talking about this last spring. Jacob's a senior center fielder this year, and he is signed with Jeffco.
Kid can swing it.
a really good athlete and a big, strong, physical kid.
Man, I thought that was impressive. I really did. And another one from over on the other side of the state at Warrensburg High School, a young man going to UCM, Charlie Morgan. We met Charlie. He plays for the American Legion Ball Club there, the Mule Club. Heading to UCM, he tied a state record on April 15th against Bolivar, had 3 triples in one game. Another young man you've seen, Kevin, as well, in Charlie Morgan, another big physical kid.
3 triples in a game. That's quite a feat. I don't know if I've ever seen that in a game, Coach Ash. Have you?
No, but it's funny you bring up the triple. So in 22, we actually broke the state record for 5 triples in one inning. And we had 6 in the game. But here's the deal. 5 in one inning, it was actually 5 in a row. And we broke a record that held from like 1962 with like 4. So I've never seen a kid get 3, but that's probably
5 in a row.
Really
I've never seen that.
We hit 5 in a row at the University of Kansas as a team. Yeah, it was wild. Yeah. So, well, you play on a big field like that. We just hit some gap shots, and like you're going to run forever. So if I told him, I said we wouldn't have broke the record if we had some speed because they would have been inside the park home runs. But yeah. The triple, I mean, really, the triple is like I still feel it's one of the harder things to do in baseball. I mean, it's tough. The placement, and a lot of time the high school fields just aren't quite big enough. I mean, if you're playing at Rockbridge or like Helias or somewhere like that, you can do it. But our field, you're not getting a triple. It's either bouncing over or it's just not big enough. So
right,
yeah. Yeah, that's impressive. That's just, as the old saying goes, that's just not something you see every day.
No, it's not. It is not.
My goodness, 5 triples. You had 6 in the game?
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. That's impressive. Yeah. I just thought those are fun. It's cool to see, these kids, and especially, that was just last year. That was 2022. Records we're used to seeing, as you said, that held since what, you said 1962?
1962 or somewhere around there, yeah.
That's impressive stuff.
Yeah.
Fun stuff, man. See what you learn here on Youth Baseball Midwest. I wanted to start off with a topic here today, guys, because the ABCA was going on this past weekend. We got the Missouri High School Baseball Coaches Association Clinic coming up. And I always think it's interesting because topics and building these types of things. I saw a topic from the ABCA, which was creating efficient feedback for pitchers. And I thought it was an interesting topic, as I listen to Brett Graves a lot because, of course, he's on our on the channel, and he's talking about information and talking pitching and whatnot. Kevin, you were a pitcher, and it's something that you've instructed and done. Coach, I'm sure the challenge for high school pitchers is, first and foremost, getting them to understand terminology, language. I think every coach, not everybody uses the same terminology in pitching, or instructors using the same terminology. And especially in high school, when you have so many kids going and using different instructors, what are some of the challenges when you bring these kids into high school and being efficient with feedback for pitchers? What are some of the challenges you're facing?
Well, from our standpoint, the challenges, right now, so we had a morning bullpen session today, and we've got 27 kids that are coming in to pitch. So you got to have enough catchers. 2, now they're pitching now because we're trying to create arms for future. And then obviously when we play as many games we do at all the levels, like there's gonna be times where kids are going out that aren't maybe your prototypical type pitcher, but they got to eat up innings. So we're blessed that we do have Rapsodo. So like we use that. And we're not, the kids, the one thing they worry about is velo, right? which obviously is important. But right now, this early on, it's not a really big thing that we're addressing. Obviously, we do have a throwing program that they were supposed to start on December 19th, I believe. And you start really seeing what kids are actually doing it, with their arm strength and whatnot. So the two biggest things that we're really looking at right now, and I did hire a former pitcher from that played for me, Ethan Osborne. He's a left-hand pitcher, went to Southeast Missouri State, just finished up last spring, and then did a student teaching. He is now on board, and he's already brought in like what they were doing and the things that he had learned at Southeast Missouri State. So he's been a huge asset already. And plus, he's young. The kids look at him and they're like, "Oh yeah, he just got done playing Division I baseball, so like he knows everything," So, but the two things that we do look at are spin efficiencies. Obviously, the higher percent means the ball's coming clean out of their hand. And we've got kids that are right in that 95 to even 100% spin efficiency, which means they're able to spin the ball and get really good backspin on it. And those are things that we can address with those kids if they're struggling or they have a very low spin efficiency. So, and again, that's with our pre warm up stuff where we're really trying to focus on getting the ball off our fingers correctly, not shutting it down too soon, things like that. So that's one big area. And then obviously the spin axis, the way the ball's rotating, like we can start figuring out, is a kid going to be more of like a sinker ball type kid, maybe going to have more of a slider effect or a cutter based on arm slots and how the ball's coming out of the hand. So then we start identifying, like, is this kid more of a starter? Is he going to be more of a relief guy for us? Is he a lower arm slot guy? So these are things that we're learning right now. And then as the season gets here, we'll have a little bit of a better idea on like what kind of role they're going to be in as far as the pitching side of things. So those are the two biggest ones. And obviously velo, but we're supposed to be really kind of low intent right now. But the younger kids, they're trying to impress and they're trying to like blow up the radar gun. And and so the ball's everywhere. And so you're trying to like hone that part back, which as a competitor, I was probably the same way. Like, and when a coach is in front of me as a freshman, I'm trying to like throw it as hard as I can. But if you're not throwing strikes, you're not getting over the plate, it really doesn't matter. So they've done a really good job. This is our third bullpen session since we started. And you can already see some of the improvements in just their mechanics and delivery and the spin efficiency. So, yeah, it's been good. We're blessed that we do have Rapsodo.
Kevin, we I've been talking to you about some of these subjects, and you see a lot of these kids, and especially in the early part of the season, you start doing different events and things of that nature. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting when I started asking is how many of these kids, coach just put together a high level, and I'm sure kids, but how many of these kids really are taken and can understand the information that's coming back to them?
Yeah, I think there's two pieces to this, and I find myself trapped in the middle sometimes. I think the most important thing is it's not necessarily what information we can give the kids or how much a pitching coach or a coach knows. It's what can the player or the pitcher understand, and how can we get him to use this data and information so he can understand it and apply it, because it doesn't really matter how much a coach knows or how much information we get on a kid if he can't apply it and use it to that player's benefit. So I find myself in the middle sometimes, just because I've been on both sides of it. You got to be careful how you or make sure you do a good job conveying to kids certain information. And I've also been in conversations where I've just said to myself, what did that guy just even say to me? Because it's such high level talk, and it can be great, but hey, you got to be able to make this so everyone can understand it. So, with prep baseball specifically, some of this information goes on the players' profiles, and it's honestly, it is for the player, but it's really also for the college coaches, because they know what those metrics and numbers mean, so they can take that and know a lot of information about that pitcher. Now, it's a whole nother job to take that information and to give it to your pitcher and say, hey, this is what this means. This is how we're going to apply it. These are your strengths. These are your weaknesses. And become a better pitcher because of that. And then there's the final dimension of it, which you do, and I see plenty of these kids these days, is it's still about competing and getting out. So it is a fine line. Use it as a resource and a tool, but there's some that fall into the trap of being only married to the data and so concerned about that and almost forget about the main job of, hey, your job is to compete, get outs. It doesn't matter how hard you were throwing or your spin rate or whatever metric, or hey, the reason you got roughed up today was because whatever metric was off. Well, why was it off? What that falls on you, not necessarily, if that makes sense. So it is a fine line, and the best pitching coaches and coaches are the ones that can convey the information to the kid, the pitcher, to make them better, while also allowing those guys to still be competitors and pitchers on the mound without having to think about every last data point or every last mechanical advice that you've been giving them.
Coach, I think one of the things that you said that was really interesting to Kevin's point is you got these incoming freshmen, as you said, they want to impress.
Right.
How do you slow them down? And, you got the pitching coach coming in. What do you guys talk about to slow them down, to get them to understand, the language and the information that's being given to them? Junior, senior, they've heard you guys talk for the last 2-3 years, but this young man, he's coming in and he's like, I just got to throw 85 miles an hour for coach. How do you slow them down?
Well, I think part of slowing down that process is like in between their ears, like slow down your breathing, number one, because they're so amped up. So you're always trying to talk to them about just breathe, just relax a little bit. We want them to be fast on the mound. So like we want them to be fast movers down the mound. So like that's something that we do talk. Like once you get to that balance point, we're trying to move as fast as we can, but then being under control versus out of control are two different things. So with that obviously becomes the whole strength issue, where kids at that age are still growing. They're maybe not physically able to hold their posture as well as an older kid. And when you have bad posture on the mound, you tend to maybe spin off the ball when you're throwing on the delivery, or it could be just a minor like mechanical tweak. So, we're, as far as slowing down, we're just trying to slow down the process in between their ears. Take a deep breath. And if we're trying to hit a spot, like when we get to the point where we're hitting spots, like that's where you have to get the kids to be able to understand, like being 2 inches off from where you're supposed to pitch it is the difference between getting an out or a ball that's a double over outfielder's head. And like, obviously that's not good. So, the very small margin for error when you miss a spot in high school is, it's bad. And so trying to convince them, like just throwing the ball over the plate versus hitting spots. But as a young kid and young hitters, we also have realized in high school that if you can just get the ball over the plate, more times than not, the high school hitters are going to get themselves out. Because for the most part, high school hitters, I'm a pitcher, they're not very good hitters. So if you can throw strikes, you're going to have a lot of success if you have a defense behind them that can run balls down and make the plays. So, again, just trying to slow down the thought process, the mental part of it, because they got a lot of things going in their head. Oh, my gosh, I got a runner on second. I've only got one out. I'm behind in the count. They're thinking about don't throw a ball. Don't hit the guy. Don't give up a double. Like they're thinking all the negative things that could possibly happen instead of just relying on their mechanics and letting their natural talent and ability just kind of take over. So they can be their own worst enemy for sure. So, and you still deal with that with your older kids. Guys that have had a lot of success, maybe they go out and they're not having success in an inning or whatever it may be, or in a bat, you got to sometimes give them a little reminder, like, you're fine. Like, let's just, just rely on your natural ability to take over, and we'll be fine. So, but yeah, you're right. It is hard with the younger group, but a lot of it is the strength level, and we know that's going to come. And so we just, obviously the weight room is a very important part of our program. And, we're lucky to have those classes during the school day. So, so that's the biggest thing for us, I think, is just the strength level. And then in between the ears, just making sure that, don't be your own worst enemy, and actually give you that positive self-talk always on the mound. Just talk yourself up like you're the baddest dude on the planet.
Exactly. I'm going to get you out. The word that, and this is why I thought efficient. I think sometimes, Kevin, you alluded to this. I thought it was interesting what you said there, because, efficiency sometimes is less words. Trying to find that key with any particular player. And sometimes it's different for everybody, but to be efficient means to try and create a pocket in where you can relate information in the most concise format for a player to understand it. Correct?
Yeah, that's well said. And a lot of times, like when working with pitchers in particular, or you could say this during BP too, or apply this to BP, I should say. Oftentimes, you'll go a whole bullpen session, or at least multiple pitches, and you just don't say a word, and then you stop it, or you let the kid take the whole BP round, and then after his round, you grab him in between his next round, and you give him some, hey, this is what we were doing, instead of trying to coach the kid on every single pitch or every single swing. And oftentimes that can just get inside the kid's head, and you're not necessarily getting the results that you want. You want them to be free movement, not chained up by thinking, if that makes sense. You want it to become second nature.
I think the thought in that needs to be see the ball, hit the ball. You get in the box, it's the approach. I'm thinking about where's the scouting report? Is he pitching? Is he just going to throw a lot of curveballs away? And I've just got to sit back here and try and drive the ball. You just want that thought process when you're in the batter's box. Is that correct, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think, simplifying things. So, and Kevin's right. I think information overload is one of the worst things a coach can do to a player. I was guilty, and there's times I still am guilty as a younger coach. Like, you are constantly coaching, like, in the third base box, every pitch to every hitter, like, hey, do this, do that. Like, at some point, like, the kid has to be able to perform on his own, which also means that you probably need to do a better job in your practices or your individual time that you're talking to those kids, because the game is the game. And if you're trying to overcoach in the game, then you didn't prepare your team or that kid or whatever situation's going down. You didn't do a good enough job in practice or whatnot. So Kevin's 100% right on that. And then another thing that Tony Vitello, I remember listening to him speak at one of our clinics back when he was a Mizzou pitching coach. As far as the pitching goes, he used the acronym A3P, and it meant attack in 3 pitches. Like, his goal was, and this is when he had like Scherzer and those guys, he wanted an out within 3 pitches. And so my guys hear that a lot. I don't necessarily use A3P, but I said, hey, we want an out in 3 pitches. 4 maybe, but 3, I mean, really, like, so what's that telling the kid? Okay, like, get the ball over the plate, hit your spots, and I'm going to get an out. And I think that's just a simple way to communicate with kids too. Like, hey, A3P, man, let's go. 3 pitches, we want an out. Because you're going to have those moments where you do need a strikeout, and those strikeout guys tend to, like, run the pitch count up. And right now, with the way our pitch count is with Misha, like, I want to have the ability to have my top guys go for as long as they can. Well, if everything is a 3-2 count and guys are battling pitches off, and we're throwing 7 to 8 pitches per batter, well, they're not going to last very long. And depending on how your bullpen is, maybe they've already thrown. Well, that could be a win or a loss based on because my starter or whoever was out there didn't do their job and get easy contact outs early in the game, especially because that you're so amped up and you're trying to strike everybody out, and it's just it lends to it. It can be like control issues, and the next thing you know, like that kid's out in the fourth inning, and now we're hanging on for dear life. So,
Kevin, I love that point, Coach, because Kevin, when I've said this before, you probably heard me say it. I've always believed in because I see kids. You have the outliers. We know there's kids. There's teams that have kids that 85 plus arms across the board, but that's few and far between. And then you get into class 5 and lower, you're dealing with kids in the mid 70s to mid 80s as far as pitchers and things that you're dealing with. And I love what Coach said, because we don't talk about how to construct an out enough with pitching, in my opinion, especially in the 12, 13, 14U range, to where you're getting into high school and these kids come in, they don't know how to construct an out. Because what's my best pitch? What is my out pitch? They don't even know what an out pitch is, correct?
Yeah, and I like Coach's attack with 3 pitches because, a lot of people will say, oh, well, we need to have first pitch strikes. And then it falls on the pitcher for having to be perfect. And it's a failure if I throw a ball on the first one. So the mindset of 3 pitches, gives that pitcher some wiggle room there. So, hey, I missed on the first one, no big deal. Coach said 3 pitches, and so I'm back in the zone and strike with my second pitch or my third pitch. So it is a little bit of a mindset for sure.
I love that. I love that thought process. I think these are things that are so important for young pitchers. And as we're heading into high school, if people get a chance, and this is what I love, that just the efficient feedback and how you're dealing with pitchers early in the season. It's a great topic, but I want to shift a little bit, because I want to move to another couple topics here. I'm trying to do this a little bit more. We're trying to get into a few things. We'll do this a little bit more as we're moving through our baseball talk episodes. But there's an interesting thing to me, and I started doing this. I started building the spreadsheet because it's just, these are things that are curious to me as we're working, as we're looking at the season coming up. And because Misha, as we all know, they will put out the district all the district assignments. Like first week of the season.
That second Friday of the season, yeah.
Okay, and we'll see the seedings, but I think it's, to me, I wish they would do it differently. I think they probably could, but that's just my humble opinion. But I'm looking at this, and especially, guys, when we start looking at 2026. And we're looking at district potential. And I think the big one is always the private schools with the championship points. Coach, can you give us an idea? What are we looking at with championship points? What does that mean for these private schools?
Well, obviously, you get points for winning a district championship, a sectional, a quarterfinal, being a semifinalist, and then obviously winning a state championship. So once you get to 8 points, I believe that's your max amount of points. You can only move up to 2 classes from your original enrollment. Okay, so I'm going to try to, and in our area, there's 2 schools that it would affect. Helias, number 1, and then 2, Tolton, Father Tolton. Helias, I believe, is going to remain at class 5.
Wow.
And I think their enrollment, I want to, and again, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure their enrollment may be like a class 4-ish.
467.
Yeah,
467.
460. Yeah, so they would be a class 4, but they've had some recent success, so they are now class 5. They jumped up 1 class based on the points that they've earned over the years. Now, Father Tolton, they started at class 3. I think they're like at 67 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So they fit in that class 3 category. They bumped up to class 4 when they won state in 22. But they've also, I believe, were a district winner in 23 and then 24 and then 25 they were a Final Four. So they're actually capped out at 8. So based off my numbers, they are probably going to be a class 5 team this year. Okay. But I mean, until it comes out, we'll see. Another like a public school that Blair Oaks is kind of on that threshold of they can be class 4, class 3. So if you look at their numbers this year, the cutoff is 322. I think they're at like 308. So based off that number, they're probably going to be class 3. But the year before in 24, the cutoff for class 4 was 309. So like we're kind of like teetering. And to go back to your point on, I wish the districts would be set earlier, which we all agree. The reason why they're not is because once the first 2 to 3 weeks are done, schools will know if they're going to have a team or not. And a lot of times, like it could be in the inner city schools, maybe St. Louis, Kansas City, that the year before had a baseball team, but maybe this year they didn't have enough interest and they don't have a team. So that's what dictates the ebbs and the flows of the classifications and where you're going to be where you're going to be, your district's going to be at. So because I've asked that question for years. And I finally talked to a buddy at Mission. He's like, okay, this is why we do it this way. And I go, okay, that makes sense. I just didn't know that. So, yeah.
It does make sense, especially in this area, Kevin, where there is that fluctuation. We've seen that where a school doesn't have a team and you're like, they played last year. Where are they at this year?
Right.
It's happened. The one that is interesting to me, I think Vianney will probably bump back up to class 6 again this year, I would imagine as well, after their Final Four appearance.
I know they had a strong run. I am not an expert in the in that, so I don't have comment.
No, that's fine.
And if we don't play them and they're not like in our area, I tend to not kind of really pay too close attention to it. But obviously, Elias and Tolton, obviously I do pay attention, especially with Tolton because they've been in our district. And yeah, so we'll wait.
Yeah, because when you look at, because I've done this, I started because Misha posts the enrollment, and I'm looking just here at class 5. You've got John Burroughs at 344, which is class 5 last year. They had some championship runs. Where do the points fall off? Where do they come to? And then what is that? And so you have Vashon with Miller Career Academy. Their enrollment pushes them to a class 5 in that respect. Westminster Christian, I believe their enrollment is 514. That would probably put them class 4. Is that correct, Coach?
Yeah, I actually have it pulled up here. I'm trying to look here. You have them at 514.
And so, but they were class 5 because they've had some success and whatnot. And they didn't win district last year, so it'll be interesting. So these are the ones to me that are always as you said, Elias Catholic. That's 487. My mistake is 487. The one that is always interesting to me, you said was two spots. Springfield Catholic is at 254.
Yeah.
And I think that's always a tough one when you go to class 5. That's class 2 numbers, if I'm not mistaken, at 254.
Yeah, I let me look here.
As far as enrollment is what it looks like to me.
So I'm looking at, I can't see this year's for baseball, obviously, but I have to go back to like last year to kind of so it's kind of, that's where it's hard. You just don't know 1,000%. So if you're looking at spring, class 1 is 1 to 97. 2 is 98 to 165. Class 3 is 166 to 322. Class 4 is 323 to 618.
Yeah. Okay.
So
they were in a class 3 spot.
And that's last year. So they would come in at the class 3 spot.
which is where they were last year. And I'm looking at based off of last year's numbers in that respect, because we're looking through these things. St. Pius X in Kansas City, another one, 363. We saw them jump to Class 5. But, Kevin, we've talked about this. How many of these teams can actually compete in Class 5? St. Pius X, as a private school, they seemed, if they probably Class 6, maybe not, but Class 5, it looks like they have an opportunity to compete at that level.
Yeah, and you brought up Springfield Catholic, and I remember they had a good run a couple years ago when they were led by two senior pitchers, both playing college baseball. One moved on to Mizzou, the other to Jeffco, and then the next year they're bumped up because of their success, but those two senior pitchers are gone, and they're playing now up a class or two, and still with the same enrollment number. So it is a little bit tricky, but I also, understand the intentions of the rule. And you brought up Westminster, and I remember a while back when they had a stretch, and I think this is probably the reason the rule's in, that where they won the state championship maybe 4 years in a row. And so that, that's an issue as well. So not that you can't win 4 years in a row, but you probably need to move up in rankings in a situation like that. So it is a sticky and tricky situation.
Which I mean, most of the private school coaches I know, I mean, they don't like the rule. I mean, and I don't know but I also know that I can't go outside my district to get players. You know what I mean? Like my boundary lines, I can't do that. So like there has to be something in place.
Yeah.
Because the public schools would be at a disadvantage. And I think this is kind of a way to kind of make things a little more even. And I'm not saying that's the right answer. I don't know what it is, but it seems to work. Okay. Because I know Springfield Catholic actually at the Class 5 level, they've been able to compete. Now they've gone to a Final Four and won a state title. No, but they're really good and they're really well coached. No different than Tolton. Like Tolton, especially the last couple of years, they probably, they would make a run at a Class 5 Final Four for sure. So again, can Southern Boone make that jump to Class 5 and do those things? It'd be a lot harder probably because I'm not able to go outside my boundary lines and have kids that want to come and play. So we're playing by the rules, and those are the rules. And unfortunately, I
think there's some positive pieces to the rule, and I've talked about this previously before. I think that the public schools have the advantage at the larger schools because we've pointed out multiple times that in Class 6, public schools have dominated the baseball landscape, but where the private schools gain a big advantage is in the smaller classes, is where you see the recruiting and where there becomes some clear advantages, I would say.
Yeah, and there just aren't as many private Class 6 schools. That's why, which Kevin alluded to. I mean, they're all in that Class 1 to Class 4 type range. That's where the majority of our private schools are at. So, yeah.
Yeah, the only ones that I know of, you have SLU and CBC. Their populations are
the MCC and Rockhurst, basically.
Yep.
Exactly, Kevin. And that's what I think it's. And like you said, to your point, Springfield Catholic, Coach Spitz does a great job with that program. And last year they were 19-10 in Class 5. That's very respect. You put up 19 wins with that squad, and they compete well. And I think they'll compete again this year. They may. I don't know. I think the championship points start falling off after 3 or 5 years, Coach. Do you know off the top of your head?
Man, I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say it's the latter. I don't.
I think so too.
I think it's maybe 5. I think I don't know 100% sure off the top of my head, but yeah.
That's what I think when I'm looking back the conversations that I've had. So Springfield Catholic is still probably going to be sitting in that Class 5 scenario because, their runs there. And they won in Class 3, and I think they won in, a title, or they were there with as a Class 4 as well. And like you said, Tolton, do they get bumped? That's going to be an interesting, do they go, because looks like their numbers, they could be Class 3. So 2, do they get that next bump up there? As Francis Borgia got bumped to Class 6.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think that was a tough one for them. So I think I love this conversation because I don't think people understand it that much. It's not talked about that much, but yet we see it back and forth, especially in the smaller schools. Duchesne. Is Duchesne going to get bumped again, Kevin? Could they be a Class 5 school? They've had a really terrific run. They won a state title as a Class 3 last year in Class 4. They won a district title, got through that. I don't know where their points are right now. I haven't talked to Coach Hollander, but that's a possibility as well for a Duchesne program. I think, and what does that do for, and then Coach, I think it's always interesting then what teams get moved up. How does that reset districts? Class 5, Class 6, especially with just the 8 teams, the 64s, the movement back and forth in that. How do you even those things out? It's not, and when people talk about, oh, Misha could do that, the reason I started looking at this, because I wanted to see how really difficult this is going to be. And you know what? It's really difficult.
Yeah, it is.
This isn't just something you go, oh, we'll put a team here, we'll put a team there. The logistics that you're dealing with, where do you put somebody in a district? What are you dealing with on this level? How can you even out? You try to even out the districts, especially in Class 4, trying to even out the districts the best you can. It becomes a serious challenge, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And like your location on where you're going to play, you get say Tolton does go to Class 5. They've been in our district. Well, if they move, does that mean we're moving more north or maybe out to the west a little bit? Or do we move south? And then if Blair Oaks happens to drop to Class 3, now you're really looking at like where are we going to fit in? And, do we go more north with like Mexico, Moberly? That would all make sense. But then you have those outlier schools like a Wright City who's been in our district, or a Winfield even was in our district there. It's kind of, you just don't know. And I know they do their best to try for proximity, but sometimes you just can't avoid it. And you are going to get a team maybe that is an hour and a half away. And for us, I didn't know a lot about Winfield last year. So I had to kind of dig up some information the best I could in case we end up playing them. So that makes it a challenge in itself. And then obviously I don't have them on my regular season schedule. Like for me as a coach, if the districts were out early enough, or I knew, then you could schedule them in regular season. And so when it came to district seed meeting, it's clear cut and dry. The hard part is a lot of us don't play each other. So then it's kind of like you're going off strength of schedule, your wins and losses, and maybe, the type of players that you have. And it gets really difficult to seed those districts in that way. So, but it gets very entertaining in our district seed meetings sometimes. Sometimes it's clear cut and dry. I mean, it really is. Like you go in, you already know who your top, you already know what it is. And some years though, it gets very interesting. It gets pretty heated. Well, because I mean, for us, if we got 5 teams, that number 1 seed's huge. If I don't have to throw an arm, heck yeah, I'm going to fight for the 1 seed. So. And if you got 6, then you got 2 buys. So now you got 2 teams fighting for that first round buy. So yeah, it's challenging.
I love that because people I don't think a lot of parents understand the dynamics of all of this, what it creates, and that thought process through that. So I appreciate going through that. Kevin, we're gonna finish up here with talking about. I went through some all-state from Class 4 last year through District 7, 8, and 9 where Coach resides. And I'm not sure if you've seen many of these kids or where you're at. I know some of them because we've talked about it before. But starting Coach, I'm sure you can jump in here starting All-State. Eldon, the Mustangs have been a team that has put up double-digit wins for quite some time. They're a quality program. And they got a junior that was honorable mention. He's a junior this year. As a sophomore, he was honorable mention on the infield, Drew Hines. Kevin, I don't know if you've seen this young man in any of your travels.
I have not seen Drew play.
Okay. Coach, you
Yeah,
played.
honestly,
Yeah.
conference opponent. He's the son of their coach, which Coach Hines has done a great job, and they have the Hunter Hess and they've had some. I mean, Hunter Hess was our conference player of the year just a couple years ago. They've had really quality players, and they've had good teams. Drew's one of those kids. He plays second. He played a lot of second last year. Can kind of play anywhere on the infield. He's a very physical kid for his stature. He's not 6'4", but he's a solid, strong kid that is tough. He kind of sets the table for the rest of the guys. He's kind of the engine of that team, and especially as a sophomore last year, he just did a really, really good job. He's dangerous. He's a really good player. I wrote some notes down, like versatility is one of those, especially defensively. And then offensively, he can bunt the ball. He's got some juice to his bat, so he can leave the yard on you. Good contact, just good contact skills. I mean, he doesn't strike out a lot. So yeah, he's a kid to look for. Obviously this year and the following year he graduates. He's a 2027 kid, so he's a tough player, and I don't like facing him.
That's a good compliment for that young man right there. Coming in, the Moberly Spartans. Moberly's been tough the last year. I think they're going to be right there again. Kyle Fanning, who is a 2026 as a junior, he was second team All-State in the outfield. Kevin, have you seen this young man as well?
I have seen Kyler play. Left, outfield pitcher, has some real juice in there and has a pretty good throwing arm. So two-way talent there for the Moberly Spartans.
I like it. Moberly's going to be tough again, another tough out again this year, Coach.
Yeah, they are. They've got some guys returning. Obviously, they've been really, really good the last few years. They're going to be tough. They're going to be tough.
Absolutely.
And sorry, I got a phone call here. But yeah, Kyler, he lefty. He kind of reminds me a lot of he kind of reminds me a little bit of Vander Halford from Blair Oaks that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Kind of the same stature, just strong lefty, versatile pitch, plays the outfield. But yeah, Kyler's special.
All-State, you just brought it up, Vander Halford. Blair Oaks has two, and again, they're going to be about 220. These are two juniors, and as sophomores, Wyatt Libbert was an All-State honorable mention pitcher. Vander Halford, DH utility honorable mention as sophomores. Both these kids, they're coming into their junior year. Kevin, these kids are dynamic.
Yeah, Wyatt's a name we've known about for a good while, and rightfully so. Big physical, right-handed pitcher. It's still becoming more and more physical, but there's a guy that is now starting to run it into the upper 80s, maybe even scrape at 90. So been on the scene for a good while, and younger brother of Will Lippert. So the Lipperts have been terrorizing mid-Missouri baseball on the mound for a little bit of a stretch here now. But Wyatt will certainly lead the charge for Blair Oaks on the mound again this year.
Yeah, and Vander Halford, we saw him last year. This young man was really good. We live streamed a game at Blair Oaks. They played St. Francis Borgia, handled them just fine. Halford I know he pitches as well, correct?
Yeah, he does. He's kind of had some little nagging injuries here and there. Nothing crazy, but I know I don't know how much he pitched last year, to be honest with you. But obviously, positional wise, he's really good, and I know he's good on the mound. I just haven't seen him enough to really give you a really good scouting report on him from that standpoint. But yeah, Wyatt's he's going to be one of the top kids in our area for sure, and one of the top right-handers in the state.
Blair Oaks poised to make another run. New head coach, because Coach D'Amelia is off to Missouri Valley College. So congrats to him. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how those things shape up talent wise. You get a new coach in, that's going to be interesting. All state right there in Southern Boone, and Coach, we'll start with Kevin, so you don't have to just talk about your own son.
That'd be good. Thank you.
Nolan is one of the more exciting talents in the 2028 class, and this 2028 class is special. It is a standout class, and Nolan's a clear-cut standout in the class. Tall, athletic, shortstop with a really strong arm. Nolan's got a lot of upside. Still filling out physically, but already a really, really good player. And just kind of, it's going to be interesting to follow Nolan over the next couple of years as he continues to grow physically. I'm expecting to see more balls leave the ballpark, et cetera. And it will also be interesting to see which way he gets torn. Clear-cut shortstop bat, but also creates a little bit of an impact on the mound as well. So, Coach Ash has a good one there with his young man he's got.
Yeah, so like he will have to pitch obviously a lot more this year, so he's going to throw a lot of innings for us. And he said it right, the physicality of it, which he's to the 175 mark, and that was his goal. So he's put on probably about 15 pounds roughly since this summer. So he knew it. We all knew it, and he's done it. And then to kind of speak on a few other of my kids, I just want to throw this out there. But, senior Jackson Woodward, he's committed to he's actually signing today with William Woods, but he's been a two-time all-conference, all-district performer for us, catcher, pitcher. He's the one that threw the one-hitter against MICDS last year with 14 punch-outs. Like, he's that kind of guy. Wow. So he's one to look out for. Obviously, Zach DeHaas, a lot of us, we've talked about him and his speed and the dynamics that he can bring to the table. He also pitches for us. And then Brody Troth, utility pitcher, 6'4", physical kid, one of our best basketball players on the basketball team right now, having a great year. He's one to watch out for. He's a junior. He's going to have a big year for us. So those are my guys I really look at, like making those biggest impacts and possibly being all-state type players. So
very good. That's awesome. Last one here in this area, all-state infielder. We talked about him, Father Tolton, Carter Hankey. Kevin, he was as a junior honorable mention. What do you see from this young man?
Yeah, left-handed hitter, signed with Mineral Area, and Mineral Area's been kind of one of the hotter JUCO programs in the state. So Carter can swing the bat and caught the eye of Mineral Area. So, Father Tolton, losing Lucas Wiederholder. So Carter Hankey will, kind of be one of the main focal points in the middle of that lineup this spring.
Coach, Father Tolton's been right there, kind of the thorn. I remember the epic playoff game a couple years, 10 innings. I think they beat 11. You by one. Was it 11?
Yeah.
I just was watching on Game Changer. I'm like, my goodness, nobody wants to lose this game.
Yeah. Well, that was after we were down 6-0 after the second inning, and we clawed our way back, and then we had about an hour rain delay when we were making our charge. And our kids like to say that was the reason why we lost. I like to say, well, we didn't get enough one-out hits with the runner on second base. With 3 innings in a row, we had that, and we couldn't get it done. So,
man,
yeah, they've been as talented as a team in our area for sure, and then even across the state. I mean, Lucas Weedholder, Kevin mentioned, Matthew States. Obviously Cam Lee was a part of that. Like, they've had a lot of talent. And to go back to Carter Hankey, he's actually one of those kids I respect a lot. Like, he's a good young man, and I will say this: he's got some juice, and he does not strike out. Like, he is one of those kids. Like, it's almost like you just hope he runs into an out. Otherwise, it's almost like just kind of put him on, because like he'll wear a pitcher out. Like, he's going to make you throw 12 pitches, and if you make that one mistake, he's going to make you pay. That's the kind of hitter he is. At least for when we face him, that's how he is every time we play him. And he is one of those kids that when he comes with the bat, he just annoys you because he's good. So
I love these compliments. I love them. I love them. I want to mention a couple of kids. Mexico, I think, is going to be right back there. They had 20 wins last year. I think they're going to be back. Drew DeMint, Austin Maxwell, coach. These kids, this is going to be a good baseball team.
Yeah, Drew DeMint is really, really good. Physical, like strong kid. And then the Maxwell kid, obviously, has got a lot of varsity experience behind them. They're two of the top kids in our area for sure, without a doubt. One kid I know you'll bring up this other one, but there's a kid from Fulton. I think his first name is Gage. I apologize if I got it wrong. Gage Tiffany. Is that right? I got a couple players right here. They're saying yes, that's right. Big, tall, like probably, he's 6'5", all 6'5", long. He was one of their top arms last year. He's a kid I think a lot of people don't hear about, because Milius and DePhilly and some of those kids took up a lot of that shine. This kid's going to be really, really good. So, is good. He's just going to get a little bit more shine this year.
I got to give a shout out to the Fulton guys. I got a DM on Instagram from a player over at Fulton and said, "Hey, don't forget about us. We're going to be just fine."
Yeah, they will be. They're going to be fine. They graduate a lot, but like a lot of good teams, you graduate kids, but you always have that next herd coming in. So you just hopefully you can kind of maintain and sustain the level of success. So, and they will. They will.
I love that confidence. That he DMs me and goes, "Hey, I love what you guys do, but you can't forget about Fulton. We're going to be just fine." I loved it. And I just love that confidence. When you see a high school kid doing that, Kevin, that's pretty good.
Absolutely. You understand the mindset over there at Fulton and why they're been making as much noise as they have been.
Absolutely. Last young man I want to mention over at Boonville, Coach Simpson's got, I think they'll be back there. They were close last year, but Brody Porter. Kevin, have you seen this young man?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Coach?
Yeah, he's good. He's really good. Played a lot of third base for him last year. Did he pitch against us? He did. He came in relief, I think. With the Beckman and Bishop game, we were up 1-0. It was just, not a lot of offense. I think he might have came in relief, the Brody Porter kid, and he was just as good as Bishop. And so he's a physical kid on the mound. I think that's probably where he's going to make his hay in college. But he is a very good offensive player and defensive player. So he's that versatile kid that obviously is an all-state caliber type kid. So yeah, he's a name to look out for this year for sure.
I love it. Hey, listen, I love Class 4. I really do. I think Class 4 is one of the best classes in the state. You have so much talent, and the versatility. Kids got to do multiple things. Kevin, you talk about this a lot. When you get into that, the depth. Do you have kids that can really compete on the mound, at the plate? You got to have that versatility in Class 4.
Absolutely, a lot of two-way talents at the Class 4 level, and you also see a lot of younger guys making a big impact at the Class 4 level as well.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing, Coach. Just to finish this up, is I love the fact you will see a freshman, you'll see a sophomore, because not just because they're good, but because it's necessity.
Yeah, you got what you got. We don't have the pool of kids maybe to choose from. So if you got a kid that's ready to go as a freshman, skill-wise, maybe not physically, but skill-wise can do some things. Like, I think that's the difference. Like, they may not be ready physically, but skill-wise, they can kind of hold their own. So, you do see it a lot more at the lower level classes. I'm not afraid to play young guys. I mean, when I first got here, I had a freshman that started, and then the Chase Morris kid started as a freshman, and obviously Nolan last year. And I've got like Brody Troth and Jackson both were starting as sophomores. So like, I play the kids who I feel like deserve it. I don't play just because you're a senior doesn't mean you get automatic playing time. So play the best kids that I feel are going to help the team win.
Absolutely. Fun stuff. I love that. I appreciate the time, guys. That was a great conversation. Enjoyed it a lot. Folks, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it very much. Again, if you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button, like it, share it out. Helps the algorithms. If you want to see more exclusive content, we've got it coming up. We got some great stuff happening in the club. Join the YBM club, become a legacy member. 50% off for the first 100. That's where we're going with our legacy members. We appreciate it very much. Coach Ash, good to see you, man.
You too.
Appreciate your time.
You betcha. Thank you.
Kevin, as always, buddy, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Folks, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, Kevin, what do they got to do?
Keep throwing strikes.
I like it. Hitters, Coach, give the hitters some advice. Oh, he's already gone. Coach is gone. He signed off. He had to go. Hey, hit them where they ain't. We'll see you all next time.